Right, okay. Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for that kind welcome, and to the SAEMC Organising Committee for inviting me to speak to you today. Where's the slide? Right, okay. What we'd like to do is still acknowledge our presence on country as well, as part of the Department for Energy and Mining. And so, as guests here on Kaurna land, the Department for Energy and Mining acknowledges everything this department does impacts on Aboriginal country, the sea, the sky, its people, and the spiritual and cultural connections which have existed since the first sunrise. Our responsibility is to share our collective knowledge, recognise a difficult history, and respect the relationships made over time, and create a stronger future. We are ready to walk, learn, and work together. So, today I'm going to be giving you a bit of a review of the mining and exploration across the state for 2023. And these numbers here have just come through from the ABS. And you can see in 2022 to 23, the industry has invested $181.7 million in exploration activity across South Australia. This data has also found that $64.2 million was spent on exploration in just the March quarter alone, beating the previous quarterly record of $61 million back in the December quarter of 2012. So this result was bolstered by BHP's ramp-up in exploration activity at its Oak Dam deposit. The outlook for exploration expenditure remains strong as the world's appetite for copper, uranium, magnetite and mineral sands continues to grow. So just diving down into exploration expenditure by major commodity, you'll find these dashboards up on our SAEMC delivery portal if you go looking for them. But just by major commodity here, you can see that the main driving force for exploration expenditure is copper, with over a doubling of expenditure in the last year. And we've also had strong exploration drivers evident in iron ore, and we've seen a 200% increase in expenditure. And uranium exploration is strengthening in South Australia as well, with a 23 million compared with about 7 million last year. So just having a look at the exploration snapshot across the state. We have definitely seen an uptick in companies taking out exploration licences in the state. We now have 902 active exploration licences compared with 877 at the same time last year. The map on the right shows the spread of licence uptake, and you can see some growth to the north of the state as well. Only a few highlights are shown here. We can see some of these trends, excuse me, with increased exploration activity, as I said, in Oak Dam, BHP and Oz Minerals merged, driving interest in copper exploration, and critical minerals activity increased on ground activity across the state. And of course, we have this ongoing interest in the Gawler Craton. And for those of you that came to our GPT workshop earlier in the week, hopefully you can see some of the work that's going on in that area. We've also had quite a number of rare earth discoveries and resource upgrades across the state, and particularly on the Eyre Peninsula and in the southeast. And magnetite interest has increased, and we definitely have seen this renewed interest in activity in mineral sands. Before I go on, I just, for those of you, I'm sure you've heard that the Department for Energy and Mining has just undergone a major restructure. We've actually gone from 5 executive directors down to 3. And no longer is the Mineral Resources Division an entity in itself. We have actually reorganised into these 3 major divisions. Excuse me. I think I'm losing my voice. Too many presentations this week. What this structure now is a functional structure, and you can see the functions are the strategic policy and delivery, regulations and compliance, and corporate and commercial. And what you'll find is that, say, for example, in the regulations and compliance, that does not just the mineral industry, that now takes in the regulation and compliance across all industries within the state that come under our remit in the department. So you'll see here that Ben Zammit now heads up that, who is not well known to everybody here, the Regulations Compliance Group, and Nick Panagopoulos, who's been heading up the Energy Resources Division, which also no longer exists in this current structure, is heading up corporate and commercial. The Geological Survey now sits in this new Strategic Policy and Delivery Division within DEM, and that division is now led by Rebecca Knights. And you can see our Chief Executive is still Paul Hethersay, but he's introduced a new position, a Deputy CE, in Vince Duffy, so you'll probably see more events going forward at some of these forums. You can see we cross over these while they're functional pillars or functional divisions within the department. All of the work that we do crosses across all of these functions, and so it really drives us to be more, a one team across DEM, and we all need to be working really well together. So the reason the Geological Survey has been placed into the Strategic and Policy Delivery Division is so that we can continue to support the regulators, but also influence and help strategic outcomes for South Australia. Just diving a little bit deeper into that organisation. Excuse me. Excuse me, I should have brought some water. The GSSA now, as we know, sits in that intersection between the resources industry, research and universities, and other South Australian and federal government agencies. And we are the only group that in the state that does this, and we're something at the GSSA that we feel very passionate about and very honoured to be part of. Our core business is delivering high quality, pre-competitive data, geological insights and information to the exploration industry. You can see from the word cloud the number of functions and deliverables that we are responsible for, and that will not change. The change, however, is one of strengthening the GSSA by welcoming our geoscience colleagues from the Energy Resources Division, and that has been this is a first for South Australia. So just going on some of the other work that's going on in the department at the moment. DEM is currently drafting 2 new strategies that will be coming out in the new year. One is the critical mineral strategy, and I'm sure everyone's loves reading critical mineral strategies. There's a number of them across the country now, and we just got a bit of FOMO, so we need to have one of our own. And the other one that I think might be of great interest to you is an upgrade of the original magnetite strategy, but it's now going to be called green steel. And it's a combination of what the state is doing in the energy sector, but driving to a premium product in our magnetite, which is of great interest to us. So I haven't got a front cover for that strategy, but I put a poster I did, and you can see Mark Twining's report here. It features very strongly in the magnetite work going forward, and the survey is doing some work now to update some of the resources and reserves work, and potentially doing a geoscience project across magnetite in the new year. So stay tuned for that. The other work that's been going on is that we've been doing 3 economic studies simultaneously. It's been a challenge, but there's just a lot of drive and to understand exactly what the mineral industry is delivering to the state of South Australia. And like you can see, the main one there from ASIL Allen is really at the final stages of that, and we're really hoping to be able to release that and deliver that to you in the new year. And that will be the impact of our geoscience data on South Australia, and it's a full model that goes across all of the commodities. The other one has been a full, a full geoscience and prospectivity review across the WPA, and that report is very much in its final stages and could be released before Christmas, so keep an eye out for that. It's really an update. The last time that prospectivity review has been done was back in 2018, and it is part of the action items out of the original study for the WPA that we review this in 2023, which we've done. So I'm sure you'll find that a really interesting read, and we've updated all the prospectivity reviews from our GCAS and now our GP2 projects, and also incorporated the renewable energies into that study, so there's some big changes in there. And the other one we're doing is with our colleagues at the university, at the South Australian Centre for Economic Studies, doing an economic study for the sustainable development of critical minerals in the value chain across South Australia. We want to understand how we can impact and deliver projects or some different facilities to actually drive the whole value chain in critical minerals in South Australia, and what differentiates us and what can we do that's focused work in this state to really help our miners and get their product to market. So keep an eye out for that one too. Sorry, I was actually hoping to deliver some of these today, but I'll talk about them instead. What I can do is tell you about the delivery from the survey. So we've had a number of projects underway, and this slide really outlines the projects that we've been working on over the last 12 months. And you'll see that there's been a number of been brought to completion. These are multi-year projects, and we're really happy to be able to deliver the end products for some of these projects. And some of the projects we're about halfway through. So just to highlight a couple of our projects here going forward. So the Gawler Phase 2 project has been completed. Our NDI drilling program over in the Murray Basin has been completed, and our Stewart Shelf Sedimentary Copper Study has been completed. There's also been a prospectivity review over the Otway Basin. We're well underway of getting all of our downhole geochemistry up into SAREG. And as you can see, our pre-competitive data review, which we're hoping to have 100% finished, we're 99% there. So just to go through some of those projects to just give you an update. I won't go into too much. I know a number of you have been to the GP2 workshop and also to Discovery Day yesterday. But really just to update this group. As I said, on Wednesday we did hold an all-day workshop to the exploration community on the geological insights of GP2. And yesterday the project was reviewed at our Discovery Day. Back in 2020, there was an initiative run for Explore SA, the Gawler Challenge, with Unearthed, and that resulted in machine learning and artificial intelligence approaches to advance the field of exploration and increase the number of potential new mineral system targets across central South Australia in the Gawler Craton. However, one of the big learnings from that, and that was an early study into this field, obviously for this industry, was to say that the data that we had in that area was not sufficient to calibrate the models. And we all know that the data is king, and whether we use it as humans or whether we're going to use it as machines, we need to have good quality calibrated data that we can trust. So what we did then was generate this project called the Gawler Phase 2 and went back out into the Gawler Craton and took a whole bunch of new information, which is now available through SAREG. Go to our booth, download the app. The team here is here that can take you right through all of those projects. This project really was the largest and most complex project the GSSA has undertaken due to its remoteness of the region, harsh climate, no road access, technological limitations, the number of survey sites completed across multiple survey types, and land access. New data acquisition expanding on the digital footprint and filling in the gaps is now complete for this particular project. We're not saying it's complete for the for the area at all. There's certainly more to do. And as I said, you can download all of this from SAREG. So the other project I'd like to highlight is the NDI Delamerian drilling program. And whilst the drilling was completed last year, the ongoing geological insights and the work that was being done on that project went well into this year. So this was across the Quandong Vale area and the Alawuna regions of the Murray Basin. And what this project did was provide valuable knowledge on the Delamerian origin and its mineral potential in this area. And whilst drilling was completed, as I said, the geological work continued into this year, with almost 7 kilometres of handheld XRF, magnetic sus, and lithological and stratigraphic logging, core and chip tray photography was acquired across this area. The data collected demonstrated the presence of rock types favourable for copper, lead, zinc, silver, uranium, and the potential for heavy mineral sands. When drilling was complete, we were able to release the area for applications through DEM's exploration release area process, with 8 companies vying for exploration tenure over the area. And we had a number of companies successful in their bid there, and that was Lodestone, Boss, Coda, Peel Far West and Tracker were all successful in securing tenements and can now progress to the next stage in securing their exploration tenure. Prior to this NDI program, this area of the Delamerian had been unexplored for up to 20 years. So GA acquired over the Delamerian origin about the same time 1,200 kilometres of deep crustal seismic data in 2022, with the lines crossing the margins of the Gawler Craton, the Curnamona Province and the Flinders Ranges and the Murray Basin. So please, that data set is still under review and being interpreted, but hopefully we can bring that out, and that will be a really, really interesting piece of work that I'm sure you'll all want to get access to as soon as it's released. So just going forward, we've just a quick update on a couple of the other projects that are underway at the moment that may be of topical interest. Before I go on to that, the sedimentary copper mineral projects, which we did in collaboration with the CSIRO, is definitely in its wrap-up phase, and we heard yesterday some of the last work that's been done in that project. We see a lot of potential in the Stuart Shelf for sedimentary copper and its associated cobalt. And this project included a series of reports detailing logging of key stratigraphic holes. The challenge with this one was it was done over COVID time, and whilst the CSIRO was based in Perth, they were locked out of our state, and so our Dr. Camac really stepped up and did a lot of this work here in Adelaide on behalf of the CSIRO. So many thanks to her for that big piece of work she did. So in addition, there's been a number of papers on the sedimentology and chemostrat of the Stuart Shelf, led by are currently in preparation, led by the CSIRO, and these will include cross-sections and modelling of key surfaces. And Giovanni was here yesterday and presented all this work at Discovery Day, so if you weren't at Discovery Day, we will have those presentations online shortly, so you'll be able to download and review those. As I said, I'll just review quickly some of the other projects that we've got in train at the moment. So the Critical Minerals project across South Australia is about halfway through at the moment. It's been kicking goals this year with work progressing across all of these pillars. And I don't want to go into too much detail just because of the lack of time, but please, again, there was multiple presentations yesterday at Discovery Day, which you can access and have a look at yourself if you weren't there. Click. The other good news on the critical minerals and our digital strategy was the release of our critical mineral dashboards this week. So please, as I said, I can't go into too much detail here at this presentation, but please jump online, investigate these dashboards. You'll get live feeds, updates as we're adding information around our mine waste sampling program, and also our sampling across core, across major deposits across South Australia. And as that data comes to being, we'll be uploading and you'll be able to access it directly as a live feed through this dashboard. So it's in its early stages, but we've released it. So please go on. We've got about 10 commodities on there at the moment, and you should get up-to-date information from the survey through this mechanism. The other major project that we've got underway is our South Australian Discovery Mapping project, and this project has also advanced significantly over the last year, compiling data and digital maps to create a foundation for digital mapping and expanding seamless geology across the state. So again, please come to the booth. We're happy to show you all of these projects, and if you're interested in deep diving a little bit more, of course, I'll plug the Discovery Day presentations from yesterday as well. There was a lot going on there, so I'll leave it with that, so you can check up on that later. And obviously, I still want to highlight our jewel in the crown is the core library, which I know we're all there all the time. It's a great facility, and just to give you a few stats of what those guys do out there, there's about 3 or 4 of them, and they do an incredible job with over 150 inspections this year, and over 17,000 trays laid out so that our exploration community, the survey and our researchers have access to all of that legacy data that we hold so proudly out there at Tonsley. So what are we doing next? We have a number of projects. Obviously, the next cab off the rank is the pre-competitive data economic review and the other economic review, the studies that I talked about earlier. The Critical Minerals project is still underway, and that's looking to finish about end of next year. And our South Australian Discovery Mapping project about mid-year in 2025. We have, as I said, we've incorporated and merged with the Energy Resources Division, the geoscience aspect within the survey, and so we're also looking for more natural gas in the state to support the decarbonisation. And also our geochronology data set, we'd like to start moving that into our digital space so it's a little bit more readily accessible for the exploration community. Also, what we would like to, and Tom Wise announced this yesterday, but I would just still like to say it here, is that we have decided through the MinEx CRC that we are going to conduct another drilling program, and we have selected the area of the Northern Gawler. So this area has been selected because it has some regional greenfields opportunities. We can use it to map with the CT program, the MinEx CT rig, and we're mapping depth of cover about 200 to 400 metres, and we also can get some information from the Arkaringa basin that sits over the top. So this will contextualise links with Northern Australian Craton and Peak and Denisons, and also the Olympic copper-gold domain. So we're going to build on our emerging ideas around copper younger systems, around 1500 to 1450, and the nickel potential hosted by Mesoproterozoic intrusions. So please watch this space. This is released now. We're going to be working up this program in the next year. Hopefully we'll be drilling by the end of next year or into the first quarter of the following year. Pretty hot up there, so it might delay things. But as soon as we can get out there and start drilling and get this data to you, we will be doing that. So please watch this space. And with that, it's all from me, and thank you very much for listening.